Omni-Man rips Martian Man's head to pieces, punches a hole through the immortal's stomach, and breaks War Woman's neck. Without responding, decapitates him and, heavily injured, collapses himself in exhaustion among the remains of his betrayed friends. At the White House, two men of the Secret Service talk about having to get recertified in superhuman evasion training soon, which one of them mentions he doesn't like it. His colleague Steve tells him it is part of the job. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking and splitting. From deep within the ground, two supervillains known as the Mauler twins rise. Soon they are shot at by the White House automatic defense system, but they are unfazed. Steve shoots one of the twins and shakily orders him to back off. The twin approaches him, and Steve shoots him once again, damaging the twin's eye this time. Before he could kill Steve, the Guardians of the Globe approach the Mauler twins one by one from the sky and order civilians to be evacuated while they fight. The Guardians get busy with evacuating civilians, and they even order the military to get out. Red Rush has to rush with evacuations so fast, and the people start barfing one after the other due to the speed. The twin whose eye was shot asks War Woman if she could not have sat this fight out and let them kill the president. But she tells him that it was not her style. The heroes help civilians evacuate while the Mauler twins break through the walls to make it inside. One of the twins throws a woman, so Darkwing catches her. However, when they fall to the ground, the twin throws a tank, which forces him to use his strength to protect them both from being crushed. He was not able to get them both out, so he managed to get the woman out using a grappling hook. When it appeared he would be crushed, Omni-Man lifts the tank and helps him get out. Darkwing returns the favor by blasting off falling debris behind the Omni-Man. The Mauler twins kept on fighting the heroes while they helped every civilian escape the White House. Soon it was just the heroes against the twins, and now it's time for the real kick-ass show to begin. The Guardians come through as a wartime battalion, and the Mauler twins just got no answers at all. The pounding is like the Royal Rumble, and after all the attacks, the Mauler twins are blasted off. Mark Grayson is in the bathroom, calmly reading a comic. Soon, his mother walked in on him to grab soap, which annoyed him and forced him to cover. Once they got downstairs, they watched the news, in which the Mauler twins' attack on the White House was reported. Nolan, the Omni-Man, makes it home and kisses his wife, who tells him that they should get him out of that suit. They mention they would be going to Berlin, which makes Mark jealous. However, his father tells him that he could go himself once his powers kicked in. Mark leaves for school and looks at his father fly away with his mother. He tries flying himself, but does not manage to do it, and instead gets embarrassed when he finds out somebody was seeing him jump up and down. At school, his friend William Clockwell was surprised that the Guardians had let the Mauler twins get that close to the president, but Mark points out that Omni-Man was there too. William calls him an Omni-Maniac and teases him. Down the hall, Todd the bully is teasing a girl, who tells him not to harass her. He insists on grabbing her arm and not letting go, which makes Mark angry, and he approaches Todd, who is way bigger than he is. He punches Mark, who was only saved by Amber, who kicks Todd in his crouch. Ouch! Now that's gotta hurt. Todd runs away and Amber thanks Mark, who can barely stand up. Later, at the town's burger place where Mark is working, he is taking out the heavy loads of trash to the dumpsters at the back. While lifting a heavy second bag, he accidentally shoots it into the skies, discovering his superpowers have kicked in. It's about time, I would say. When Mark gets home, he tells her that he had an interesting day. Nolan makes it home, and they all sit for dinner where an impatient Mark tells them that he had been getting his powers, but his father does not react until Debbie kicks him. Nolan congratulates him and tells him that they would train the next day. However, Mark could not sleep and remembers when his father told him about the planet Viltrum and the superpowered Viltrumites that had great strength, could fly, and moved at super speed. And when they come in age, they leave Viltrum in order to protect other planets, and his father came to Earth and met his mother while on a mission. He told Mark that things would start changing for Mark when he started puberty, which excited Mark. Remembering all that, he leaves his room, convinced he would be able to fly, and jumps off his roof after convincing himself, and he finds he can fly now. He soars through the sky out of excitement, but nearly crashes into an incoming plane, which sends him to the atmosphere, and he starts losing consciousness. When Mark awakes, he finds he is close to the ground and crashes into the street in front of his house. He wakes up at 6 a.m. to his alarm, very tired, and his father tells him they would train but drink some coffee beforehand since he is looking dreadful. Once they are in the sky, his father tells him he would get the hang of flying, having to focus at first. He realizes that Mark had practiced the night before, as he appears to be good at flying. But when he tells him to land, Mark has the hardest time doing so, and eventually crashed into the ground. That's just hilarious. Nolan tells him to hit him and to use his whole body while doing it, even practicing while flying. Nolan then shows Mark how to punch and hurts Mark in the process, which Nolan tells him is part of his preparation. The little guy can't even breathe now. The next day, Todd approaches Mark and puts him up against a locker, telling him he would hit him. Mark asks him to hit him as hard as he could and asked him to repeat his punches when they did not hurt him. Todd called him a freak and left. Mark realizes he needs something to punch in order to blow off steam and hears gunfire. 3 criminals run from the police after robbing a place, and here comes the new and upcoming hero, the boy Wonder Mark. Still, he can work on his flying skills though. Mark fights the big criminal and manages to hurt him after dragging him through several buildings. Omni-Man approaches him and tells him he looks ridiculous, also mentions that he had skipped a few steps since he had caused a lot of destruction. Mark asks his father to hit him since he was not ready before, but his father told him that he would not hit him. Nolan hugs his son and tells him that he would be just like him and tells him to follow him. They fly to a tailor where he tells Mark he would take him shopping for a suit. Art Rosenbaum greets Mark and tells him it was a pleasure to meet him and gets Mark excited. Art hands him a suit, but Mark was not sure about orange and yellow and wanted something more iconic, which Art understood. Art told him that he needed a name from him so he could grab inspiration from there, telling him to let him know later. Debbie calls Mark, but finds he is not home. She hears a crash close to her and Mark exits a small crater created by the impact. Mark tells her he was practicing his landings and apologizes for the destruction he was causing in the backyard, but also said that he needed to be better. However, Mark says that he is nothing like his father and was more like her, asking her how he could ever live up to everything his father had done. She tells him he did not have to, and only had to be the best version of himself. The next day, Nolan tells Mark he seems tired while they play catch while throwing a baseball around the globe. Mark tells him that he is scared and is worried he might not be able to be a hero, but Nolan tells him that it is the beginning of a long journey for both of them. He tells him that it is okay to be scared but needs to push through, and believe that he is invincible. Feeling inspired, Mark rushes to Art's shop and tells him he has his name ready. Later, he sits on top of a construction crane with his new suit and flies through his city. Mark is overjoyed at the wield of his own powers and speeds through the city, flying high and mighty. As he is flying around, however, he sees a laser attack from the distance. Kill Cannon, the supercriminal shooting at the high-rise buildings, and it is being shot at by cops, but this does not bother him. Mark arrives at the scene and punches Kilcannon through several walls and through the street until the villain cannot move. Standing victorious, Mark introduces himself as Invincible. Meanwhile, Olga and Red Rush are having a nice picnic on the mountain plain, but during the conversation, he rushes to fight a villain. This angers Olga since she felt she did not have his attention. Red Rush apologizes but is called to fight once again by the Guardians of the Globe, so he uses his super speed to rush to the scene. Biplane tells the Immortal Man that he would make Denver explode, so the Immortal throws him into space until he is called elsewhere. Aquarus is underwater sleeping, but is awakened by an alarm telling him there is action, which excites him, finally. Connie tells Holly that with their third quarter rollout of Haven Storm, their market share could rise, but Connie mentions that what she wants is a spectacular year for the world until she gets called into action. She dresses as War Woman and leaves in a spectacular fashion. At his house, Nikki is excited when the shapeshifter Martian Man manages to expand himself beyond what he had ever done before. He gets called to action and leaves. At a photo shoot, another woman is called, and she leaves as well. As 2 men try breaking into a building, they get scared about Darkwing, who had seen them. He attacks both of them and manages to bring them down easily, handcuffing them and asking them about their boss. He is soon called into action and tells them he will check with them the next day before leaving in his jet. The heroes meet at their headquarters, but realize that none of the other Guardians made the alert. Red Rush senses the presence of Omni-Man and narrowly saves the immortal from being decapitated using his super speed. Realizing his betrayal, the Guardians attack Omni-Man. Omni-Man takes a few punches from Red Rush before catching him by his wrist and horrifically crushing his skull while the other Guardians watch in shock and terror. Okay, now this is just terrifying. Martian Man wraps himself around Omni-Man, and the remaining Guardians fight for their lives. Omni-Man continues to progressively overpower and further slaughter them, smashing Darkwing's head to pieces against the floor and driving his fist through Green Ghost's skull, who catches Darkwing's corpse. He uses her body as a shield against Aquarius's attack and, after dealing with Warwoman's heavy strike, kills him with her mace. An enraged Martian Man once again traps and subdues Omni-Man briefly, while the two remaining Guardians, the Immortal and Warwoman, batter him, drawing whole puddles of blood. Eventually, Omni-Man rips Martian Man's head to pieces, punches a hole through the Immortal's stomach, and breaks Warwoman's neck. The last Guardian to live, the Immortal stares at him, still conscious, and, weakly yet decidedly asks him what drove him to commit the rampage. Omni-Man, without responding, decapitates him and, heavily injured, collapses himself in exhaustion among the remains of his betrayed friends. The horror just ended, but the betrayal will remain in our hearts forever. Thank you for watching Millennium Pictures. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Have a nice day.